Hello and welcome to another episode of The Island Resolves. This week we have the return of Black Red VAMPS to Standard after a Grand Prix top 16 with them and a SCG Open top 16 with them. A fun new deck around the new card GEOSURGE from New Phyrexia that I have designed and plan to build. What to play for all those Nats qualifiers coming up. And an announcement about subscriptions. So, let's go. So, recently, Black Red VAMPS has started coming back. It used to be a pretty popular deck, even though it was never considered really tier 1. I think it's still a really good deck. I think it's really good with Cobblade around, that if you can get the birds off pretty quick before they get swords, or even once they get swords, none of the swords get pro-red yet. So, I do think that this is a pretty good deck. It's very fast, which is really good for this format, with 6 1-mana 2/2s, essentially, with Pulse Tracker and Lacerator in this list. This list was 13th at a SCG Open recently in Boston. A lot of removal. I mean, some of your creatures are even removal with Gatekeeper Malachare. Bloodghast just keeps coming back. Calastria Highborn really makes the game a pain for your opponent, especially blocking. I mean, you can take 2 from the guy, or you can block it and take 2 from the guy. I mean, Calastria Highborn gets pretty sick. Hex Mages in the main board to handle Jace and friends, especially Gideon, which is a big problem for this deck. I resolved Gideon without a Hex Mage. But, all in all, I really like the deck. I think it has potential in this format. I definitely think it should be considered tier 1, actually. At least until New Phyrexia comes out, and then we'll see what happens then. So, I definitely think Vampires is a good deck. Now, moving on, the GEOSURGE deck. Some of you might not know what GEOSURGE does. It's from New Phyrexia. It's 4 red mana sorcery to add 7 red mana to your pool, only spent on creatures and artifacts. Now, while that little phrase at the end means this won't see much play in Legacy, I definitely see potential for it in Standard. This is a really fun deck. It also utilizes Gitaxian Probe, which I think is a very good card from the new set. It's 1 blue Phyrexian mana, so essentially 1 blue, or no mana and 2 life, to look at your opponent's hand and draw a card. Importantly, draw a card. I effectively can play 56-card decks now, because this is just a free cantrip. Sure, it cost me 2 life, but Street Wraith cost you 3 life. I played Street Wraith, so I'll definitely play Gitaxian Probe, and I like the fact that you can also look at your opponent's hand. I think that can also be pretty helpful. Also, another blue card with no blue mana to play it is Tezzeret's Gambit, because it's blue Phyrexian, and 3 to draw 2 cards, proliferate. Now this card is nuts. I mean, every color can now Divination proliferate for 3 mana and 2 life. I think that's insane. I mean, pick up foil copies of Tezzeret's Gambit at the pre-release and hold on to them, because that card is so sick. I mean, green and red now have card draw that they shouldn't have. There's a reason red and green don't have much card draw. So, Tezzeret's Gambit's pretty good. Anyways, the point of this deck is to ramp into a turn 3 or turn 4 Wormcoil Engine or Inferno Titan. There's also Koth the Hammer is a nice side plan, and you have Lightning Bolt and Slagstorm to hold on to the fort. Turn 3 is pretty easy to go off, actually. With Pyretic Ritual, GEOSURGE, and Sphere of the Suns can really help you get to that turn 3, and definitely turn 4 if you got the GEOSURGE in hand. It's very all-in-red-esque, and I really like that. I also like the fact that this is all-in-red that can reload your hand with Tezzeret's Gambit. I think that this could be a good deck, and I'm going to try it out as soon as the new set comes out. So I suggest all of you pick up your Wormcoil Engines and Inferno Titans and Koth. It's a lot of fun. For those who don't know what all-in-red was back in Extended, when Extended was good, was Shadowmoor, Demigod of Revenge, and Deus of Calamity, and empty the Warrens, and you just play all these red ramp spells, and turn 1 Demigod, or turn 1 Deus, or turn 1 empty the Warrens for 10. Sick, fun deck. Like, you couldn't play anymore after your first turn, but, it was quite fun. So I think this is very reminiscent of it, and I'm going to try it. So, what to play with the Nats qualifiers? Well, there's definitely, at least in my opinion, 5 big decks that I think are tier 1. Of course, the biggest is Caw-Blade. I mean, you can't deny that Caw-Blade is a good deck. It is great. It gets 7 of 8 top 8 slots at an SCG Open for a reason. It's good, it's strong, it's consistent. It'll eat up all of your bad hands, your iffy hands, your slow draws. That's what makes it good. It's like Jund. It wrecks you out in card advantage, which is what Jace does. And what Jund did was Bloodbraid Elf wrecked you out in card advantage. And Blightning. And Sprouting Thrinax. They all just increased card advantage. So Squadron Hawk and Friends are definitely a way to go if you want to play Nats. Now, if you don't have all of the money in the world for your 4 Jaces, your 3 Gideons, all your swords, your Stoneforge Mystics, and your white-blue lands, I would suggest Calastria Highborn and the Vampire Friends, as that's a pretty cheap deck to build. I believe you could build the deck for 100, 150 red-black vampires. So, if you want the cheap deck that'll still do well, I do suggest Vampires. If you want to play a deck that has all of the crazy draws, and it wins because its turn 3s and turn 4s are just nuts with Lotus Cobra, you gotta play Rug. Rug is the biggest, the splashiest deck in the format. I mean, turn 3, drop a fetch, now you have 5 mana for a Precursor Golem, and that's the worst play after your turn 2 Lotus Cobra. Precursor Golem, 3/3/3s, is the worst play on turn 3. So, I mean, Rug will really get there with those impressive plays, and I think it's a good deck for that. If you want to put your opponents on a 6-turn clock in which to beat you or disrupt you, you want to play Valakut. Valakut is pretty good, and with mainboard Nature's Claim, can really wreck on the people that are going to play Spreading Seas and Leyline to try to protect themselves from Valakut. Of course, Primeval Titan and Avenger especially, Avenger out of the side, can come in and cause all sorts of problems when you side out your removal. So I definitely think Valakut's a good deck and can definitely still get there. It has a bit of a trouble against Caw-Blade because of the incredible card advantage Caw-Blade has to disrupt it. So I think it's a really solid deck. It just has a little bit of a tough time against Caw-Blade. Now, the 5th deck that I think is still very, very good is Tesserator. Blue-black, red, however you want to play it. Playing lots of artifacts and Tezzeret Agent of Bolas is very solid. I mean, when Tezzeret resolves, it's sort of hard to lose. I mean, especially if they don't have any dudes on the board. I like Esper Tesserator, so you can play Day of Judgment and wipe the board. Prophetic Prisms draw you cards and such, and some people have started playing Venser in with Tezzeret and Jace, and I think that's a very good deck too. Tezzeret Agent of Bolas is definitely a force to be reckoned with in Standard, and once Jace rotates, I think he is going to be the big Planeswalker. That's just me personally, unless they do reprint Gideon Jura in M12, in which case Gideon Jura becomes the big Planeswalker. But for sure, Tezzeret, just +1 to find an answer in the form of Tumble Magnet, and then -4 for the game, and that's pretty powerful. You don't even have to make 5/5 Angry Chalices, which is very fun. So, if you want to play a deck in Nats qualifiers coming up, those are the 5 decks I suggest to you. Well, thanks for watching, and please subscribe. So, after my 50th subscriber has joined, or has subscribed, and 100th subscriber has joined, I will randomly select one of my subscribers and send them a free draft set of the Scars block. So you guys can enjoy a draft on me if you subscribe. So please subscribe. And whenever we hit 50 and whenever we hit 100, I will random number generate and pick someone and message them, get your address, and send you a free draft set. Just as a side note, because I didn't do any spoilers since the whole set's been spoiled officially by WotC, I like Jingax this. I might just play him in EDH, but I think he's a lot of fun. Just a side note. So thanks for watching. Until next time, hope all your islands resolve.